Hello and good morning, everyone. It's so good to have you all join us here today. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to everybody onto National Careers Week Meet Your Future 2021, part of the Bridge Year Meet Your Future work shadowing campaign. I'm Nafisa Hakeem and I'm the Enterprise Coordinator working in schools and colleges across Manchester, and I'm part of the Bridge GM team over at the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. If you attend a school or college in any other part of the Greater Manchester, then you will have an enterprise coordinator like me working with your school or college too. Meet Your Future was launched in 2019 and is intended a simple but effective way to enable young people to have conversations with employers and businesses whilst experiencing different workplaces and working environments. We hope that these types of events and activities will assist you in understanding what the world of work has to offer you living in this part of the country and help you make sense of what options and pathways you might follow after leaving school or college. Over the last 12 months, we have been speaking with young people from all 10 boroughs in Greater Manchester to find out how you are feeling, how you feel you should be best supported through the pandemic, your return to school and your choices and next steps into the future. We've been listening and we've learnt a lot from you, so we have now developed a suite of information, resources and services that are designed to help you. These can be found on GMAX, which is a webpage that you can use to help support some of the decisions and choices you need to make. GMAX also allows you to speak in person to a member of the Bridge GM team who will be happy to support and assist you with anything specific you might have. They might also signpost and direct you onto another source of information and advice. You are joining us today on the final day of a week-long timetable of events and Q&As with employers and businesses representing a wide range of sectors across Greater Manchester. We have also been hearing from notable people about their personal education and careers journey and how they ended up where they are today. In this session, we are absolutely delighted and privileged to be joined by and able to hear from Chloe Hallows and Lauren Valentine from GM Hire. They will be talking about your journey into higher education with GM Hire. You will also have a chance in the session to ask Chloe and Lauren any questions that you have via the chat function. So, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Chloe and Lauren.
Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Hopefully you can all see my screen okay. So my name is Chloe and as Nafisa said, we are from Greater Manchester Hire and we're here today to talk to you about your options in terms of higher education and what you might find in your future. So my name is Chloe and I'm also joined by my colleague Lauren. This session today is focused on those students who are currently in school and might be going on to college and potentially higher education in the future. If you guys are from a college, this session is still relevant for you. However, we are going to be focusing a little bit more on those students who are currently in school. If you like, you can attend the session at 11, which is more focused on students who are currently studying in college. But as I said, there'll still be some relevance for you within this session. So I hope this is really useful for you today. So first, I just want to give you a little bit more information about who GM Hire is and why we're here to talk to you today. So GM Hire represents the universities and further education colleges from across Greater Manchester, all these different places on the screen. So we're here to support you with your research into careers and so that you understand all your different options around higher education. Okay, so that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. So things have been pretty tough right now, thanks to COVID, and I know a lot of you will be a little bit concerned around sort of what your jobs might be in the future, how this may affect your college or university options, and how this might impact on your future earnings and what you might want to do after school. So we're here to hopefully alleviate some of those concerns and show you all the different kind of options that you guys have, and ensure that you get all the right information that you may need to make those options about your future. Okay, so I'm going to now pass over to Lauren, who's going to tell you a little bit more about this.
Thanks, Chloe. So As Chloe mentioned, most of you will still be currently in school, which is also known as level 2. Some of you might be in year 11 and be deciding on your options for college or sixth form, and others might be in earlier years of school. Either way though, wherever you are in your journey at the moment, it's always beneficial to get some ideas about your future options. So as you can see on screen with these little characters, you'll be moving on to further education, which is now compulsory, so until you're 18, and then you might choose to go on to higher education, which is what we're going to talk a bit more about today. Okay, so when you move on to level 3, or in other words, college or sixth form, the most common options are A-levels. So with A-levels, you'll study 3 or 4 subjects for 2 years, and you'll sit exams at the end of those 2 years. Your learning style is a bit similar to how you learn at school now, so in a classroom learning different subjects. Another option is a BTEC or level 3 diplomas, and this is where you'll choose one subject, usually what we call vocational subjects, maybe for example childcare or hospitality or media studies, and you'll have a mixture of classroom learning and also go on placements as well. So for example, if you did childcare, you might have placements in a nursery or a school. Another option you've got is advanced apprenticeships. So this is where you'll spend most of your time in the workplace and you'll actually earn a salary at the same time, but you will be expected to do learning as well because you're working towards a qualification. Another quite new option is T-levels, and this combines classroom learning with a 45-day work placement. So that could be spread out over the year or it could be all in one. These are quite a new option and they were created to fill skills gaps. So this could be something that's really useful for you to look into for the future as well. Okay, so a slide on GCSEs. The question, do your GCSEs matter? Of course they do matter, but what we wanted to get across here is that there's no need to panic. So if you are worried about GCSEs, especially maybe at the moment for those of you who are in those higher up years of school, some helpful advice to consider might be to take advice ahead of your GCSEs, but remember that many people will do better than they expect if you've put the work in. Also, know what you need to do to get onto the sixth form or college course that you are targeting, or the apprenticeship if that's the route you want to go down. Make sure you're making contact with like the colleges or apprenticeship providers and ask about the what ifs just in case you don't quite get the grades you need. Also have a look into options. So if you think you might not get the requirements for English or maths, will there be any options to resit in certain colleges? Or would they maybe like give you a different route to go down? Remember, you'll always have options, so don't be passive and make sure you do look into them. And we've all been in the situation where we thought the worst about exams, but you can surprise yourselves as well. So overall, I think the most important thing is to remember that at this point in your education, what you're doing is building your foundation for the next step. So that could take a number of different routes, and overall, it's just important to try your best at every stage. Okay, so after that then, so I've just been through your level 3 options, which you can see here, and obviously we've got T-levels added to that as well. All of those pave the way for you to continue with your education by either choosing to go to university or a college that offers higher education courses, or to start a higher or degree level apprenticeship as well. So as you can see in the green boxes there are a number of different options available to you within higher education. Most people do go straight from college or sixth form and study a bachelor's degree at age 18, but there is an option to suit everybody as well. For example, you could study a higher education course in a college, which might suit those people who want to stay local or if you want to have smaller class sizes. You could also start by doing a foundation degree and then top that up to a full degree later on if you decide to. Or another thing that's becoming more popular is degree apprenticeships, and this is where you study for a degree whilst you work. So you don't pay tuition fees for a degree apprenticeship, so there's no student loans. They are quite competitive and only available in certain sectors, but definitely an option to have a look at if you think that that might be suitable for you in the future. Okay, so you might be wondering why people choose to study at higher education level. There are lots of benefits, and we've just kind of picked out 3 of them here to talk about. So the first one is career benefits. So some careers require a specific higher education qualification. So for example, becoming a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, or an architect, they're going to want you to have those certain degrees in those subjects. But lots of people still choose to study a degree to open doors to many other career options and just to gain those transferable skills and work experience that employers really value. Another thing that going to university or higher education allows you to do is it gives you the time to determine what you want to do next. It's also predicted that by 2022, half of all job vacancies in the UK will require a higher education qualification of some type. Linked to this then is financial benefits. So people with a university level qualification are best placed to earn higher salaries and less likely to be long-term unemployed. Then there are lots of personal benefits, since universities bring together people from many different backgrounds, which exposes you to new ideas and opportunities. You'll also gain a lot of independence, particularly if you move away from home, and get lots of opportunities to join different clubs, different societies, meet lots of new people, and expand your skill set in lots of ways.
Okay, so thank you for that, Lauren. So as Lauren mentioned, one of the real benefits of going to university is the fact that you can sometimes get higher earnings. And one really good site that we have partnered with that can show you a little bit more about this is something called the Pay Index. And if you've gone to a session this week, you may have heard us talking about the Pay Index before. So the Pay Index is a really useful site that allows us to see a little bit more information around what people do at university and what their outcomes might be in the future. Okay, so the Pay Index is a really useful site that we are going to show you a little bit more about today and show you the answers to a couple of questions that I'm sure some of you may have. So the Pay Index is an online tool that shows the pay salaries of graduates after they've finished their degree. So what does it show? It shows you where you could study in the UK, where you might want to go after you've graduated, what university could mean for your career in terms of your earnings and how they may increase over time, and what other financial information you may want to know. So it goes into things like your taxes and stuff, which I know are all things that you may not be concerned about at the moment, but I don't know about you, but I was really nosy around what that actually means when I go into the world of work. What are taxes and how much do you actually pay? And this is all relevant for you guys because it goes on where you live. So it shows, what areas you guys live in, where you might study, and how that might impact on your wages. So where does this information come from? So this comes from data that the student loans company has published, and it's all about real data from people who have gone to university, and we track how they develop over time. So say if you graduated this year, in 10 years time, where would you be? How much money would you be earning? Where might you be living? And it allows us just to see a little bit of a nosy into what your outcomes could be in the future, in terms of, how much you might earn or, where you might kind of go and live and stuff like that. Obviously, these are, facts and figures and they're averages. So it doesn't always kind of dictate where you might want to go or what you might want to do. But it's a really good research tool that we think some of you might be interested in. Okay. So yeah, so let's talk money. Okay, so we all want to know how much money we can earn in the future. We all want to know kind of what that might mean for us. And so as Lauren said, you know, it's often said that if you go to university, you can earn more money in the future. But what does that actually mean? So is that the same thing for every single subject? You know, are some subjects, would you earn more money than others? You know, what does all that kind of look like for you personally in terms of where you live and what kind of subjects you're interested in? So the pay index can help you figure that out. And at the end of this session, we're going to show you where you can log on to the pay index if you want to have a little look yourself. We'll show you how you can log on and then you can have a little play around with some of these facts and figures. So it shows all this information in a very visual way. So these are some of the graphs, as you can see on here, that people that showed on the pay index site. So it's all very visual and really easy to read if you want to have a little look at it. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit of a quiz. We're going to use some of this data from the pay index in order to show you some of the different, you know, facts and figures that we found about people in your area. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out a question. Some of them have, you know, multiple choices, and what I want you guys to do is pop into the Q&A box what you think the answer might be. And we know that you might not know exactly what the answer is for this, but what we're just wanting is a little bit of a guess from you guys around what you think the answer is. And I'll show you, using some of this data from the pay index, exactly what that answer is. Okay, so don't be afraid to get it wrong. Just give us a little guess about what you might think the answer could be. And like I said, I will reveal that for you as well. Okay, so the first question we have is, where in the UK do people who are typically from the Northwest study higher education courses? Is it the Northwest? Is it London? Or is it Yorkshire? Okay, so just give you a bit more information on that. So people who live in the Northwest, so you guys are all from Manchester in the Northwest, where do you guys typically go to study at higher education, at university or a college or an apprenticeship? Where would you go after college? Do you reckon people may stay in Manchester or, you know, in this area? Do you think people might go to London and study further away? Or do you think people might stay a little bit local and go somewhere like Yorkshire? So that might be places like Huddersfield, Sheffield, Leeds. Okay, so just to recap, where in the UK do people who are from the Northwest, so Manchester, typically go on to study their higher education courses? So that's your degrees and things. Do they stay in the Northwest? Do they go to London? Or do they go to Yorkshire? Okay, what do you think the answer could be?
Quite a lot of people saying Northwest, Chloe. A couple have said London, but I think in general, most people are thinking Northwest.
Fab. Okay, thanks, Lauren. So yeah, so most people said the Northwest, some London, a bit of a mixture there. Okay, so I'll reveal the answer then for you. So if we look at this graph, we can see that most people in this area stay in the Northwest to go to university. So that's not just Manchester, that also does include places like Liverpool. And we can also see that Yorkshire, which is the little pink bar, that is the second most popular area. Okay, so most people in the Northwest stay in the Northwest, but then a lot of people go to Yorkshire to study. So that's places like Leeds, Sheffield, Huddersfield. And we do typically see that when people go to university, they do tend to leave about an hour away from home. So it allows them to move away, to live in a different place, but to be near enough that they can come back as well. Okay, so that doesn't mean you have to stay in Manchester if you don't want to, but that just gives you a bit of an indication about where a lot of people in your area go on to university. Okay, so that's question 1. Moving on to question 2 then. So are people who study in the Northwest more likely to stay here once graduating? Okay, so say if you've gone to university in Manchester or Liverpool, you finished your university course, do you think people stay in the Northwest, or do you think they go somewhere else? And they might move to a different place, or go to London or abroad or whatever. So do you think people who study in the Northwest, so Manchester, Liverpool, that kind of area, do you think they stay here, or do you think they move away? So if they stay here, then your answer would be yes. If you think they move away, then your answer would be no. Okay, so to recap, are people who study in the Northwest more likely to stay here once graduating? Yes or no?
Got a few people saying no, go somewhere else. Yes, they stay here. I think they stay. I think got a mixture overall of opinions there.
Yeah, that is a good mixture. Okay, thanks, Lauren. So just to reveal this answer then for you, and again, it's a very similar kind of graph as we saw before. So if you go to university in the Northwest, a lot of people do stay in the Northwest. But again, the Northwest is quite a big area, so that's one thing to remember. So you might do your degree in Manchester and then move to Liverpool if you want to. So that is something to consider. And then the second most popular option is London. Okay, and we often find no matter where people go to university in the country, whether that's in the Northwest, in Yorkshire, in the West Midlands, wherever you study in the UK, the second option that people go to after they finish their degree is always London. And that's because there's lots of different jobs there. I think people often want to go and try to live in London for a little bit, experience the big city, and there's lots of graduate opportunities there as well. But you guys are really lucky, and there's actually quite a lot of graduate opportunities here in the Northwest as well. So people do tend to sometimes stay here after graduation. Again, Yorkshire is your second most popular because Yorkshire is very close to all these places. Okay, and if you guys have any questions on these, please do feel free to pop them in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and we can answer them at the end as well. Okay. Right, so we are on to, I think this is our last one here. So on this graph, it shows us the average salaries of people who studied foreign languages and people who studied sports sciences. Which one do you think is the red line? Okay, so the colours are a little bit similar. So the red line is the line that's at the top. So the red line is the people that's earning the most amount of money. Okay, so do you think foreign languages or sports science earn the most? So people who study those degrees, which ones do you think earn the most money? Is it foreign languages or is it sports and exercise sciences? And foreign languages include things, all the different languages, so things like French, Spanish, German, all those different things. So which one do you think earns the most amount of money? Do you think it is foreign languages or sports and exercise sciences? And just in the chat box, if you can write either sports or languages, which one do you think after they finish their degree earns the most amount of money?
Okay, everyone so far has said, oh no, sorry, the first few people said languages, then we had a couple of sports, but mostly going for languages.
Okay, thanks everybody. So I will reveal the answer then for you. So the answer is actually foreign languages. So well done to those who said that. Often people on this question say sports because they think maybe people go on to, big sporting careers, which sometimes they do. But yeah, foreign languages on average earn a bit more money over time. And as you can see, their money is going up over time. So the bottom row shows us the time in years. After 10 years, they're both earning quite a lot of money. And now this average also depends on where they live, as well as what they studied. Now, I'm not going to ask you to answer this question, but just for you guys to have a little think. Do you think everyone doing the same degree does the same type of job? because these are averages. So when we're looking at everybody who studied foreign languages, people might finish university and go on to loads of different careers. And that's what the beauty of going to higher education is that it opens the doors to lots of different weird and wonderful different qualifications. So I have quite a lot of friends, for example, at uni who studied foreign languages. And, you know, we had some people who went on to work for TK Maxx. I've got one friend who's working in the fashion industry. I've got another friend who's working at a graphic design company. I know somebody else who went on to be a web developer, and they did a modern foreign languages degree. And I'm right in thinking, Lauren, you did a foreign languages degree as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I studied French and Spanish.
Yeah, so people go on to lots of different things. So although these show us what kind of earnings you might have after graduation, it does show you kind of there is differences that you might go into. Okay, but they are quite interesting to know as well, isn't it? Okay, so back over to Lauren, who's just going to tell you a little bit more information on some of the things around going to university.
Okay, so like Chloe's just introduced you to, the pay index, this also gives you a bit of information about how much student loan you can expect to pay back. So I know this might be completely new to a lot of you, so just a quick overview of what student loans actually are, because if you go and explore the pay index, then you might be a bit confused by some of this. So we thought it'd be worth explaining this to you a little bit. So if you go to university, you can apply for 2 loans, and they are a tuition fee loan, which covers the cost of your course. So usually like the £9,250, it is different at some places. And everybody is entitled to get that, everybody gets the same amount. Then you can also apply for a maintenance loan, and this helps you cover the cost of things like accommodation, transport, food, study materials. So with the maintenance loan, you can get different amounts depending on your household income. So depending on how much the parents or carers that you live with earn. Then when you graduate from university, you don't pay anything back until you earn around £26,000. That will probably change by the time you go, but that's the current figure. And even then, the repayments are low. So for example, if you earn £27,000 a year, you'll only be paying back £9 a month. Then, as you can see at the bottom, most people never actually pay back their full loan amount, and after 30 years it's wiped. So whether you've paid back £5 or £5,000, after 30 years it's gone. And I think it's also worth mentioning as well that even if you start paying back your student loan, if you earn over this amount, and then say a few years later something happens, you lose your job, then your student loan repayments will stop as well. Okay, so just something to demonstrate that quickly. You can see a pay slip here, and you can see what's deducted from this monthly repayment, and you've got a section, I know it's quite small actually, for the student loan repayment. So if you're earning £27,000 a year, are your student loan repayments higher or lower than a medium Big Mac meal? If you want to put any guesses in the chat box. So, I mean, I'm not actually too sure what a medium Big Mac meal costs these days, but maybe you'll be more aware of that than me. Do you think if you're earning £27,000 a year, you'll be paying more back per month in your student loans, or would it be cheaper to get a Big Mac meal? So if you just want to type higher or lower in the chat box, and I'll give you a bit of time to put some guesses in. Okay, can see some people saying lower, lower. Okay, so if you want to reveal that, Chloe. Okay, so the Big Mac meal, £4.60, the student loan repayment, £3.18. So it's actually lower. So even if you're earning £27,000, then your student loan repayments aren't even as much as a Big Mac meal. So that's something else that the pay index can help you to understand too. Okay, so just thinking about student outcomes then. So one of the main reasons then that people might choose to go to university, particularly at the moment, is to improve their job prospects and to get a chance of earning a higher salary in the future. But money isn't the only reason to go to university. As I'm sure you know, and as we've mentioned a little bit, there are many personal benefits as well. So for example, we've got some on the screen here, there are lots more as well. So you might get opportunities to take part in some volunteering, you might get the chance to study abroad, so you don't actually have to study a language to study abroad. You can do most courses actually will allow you to have a year abroad placement or a semester abroad. You'll get to meet people from all over the world and network with lots of different people in like industries and also in terms of friendship networks as well. You'll gain a lot of independence, particularly if you move out, but also just being in that environment where you're responsible for your learning and for your studies as well. And a big one, you'll get in-depth knowledge of your favourite subjects. So lots of universities offer a huge variety of different modules in the courses, and you'll get to really explore certain aspects of that subject, which might then help you to determine which part you want to go down as a career pathway as well.
Okay, so thank you, Lauren. So that brings us kind of to the end really of our main kind of presentation. So you guys, if you want, as we've mentioned, the pay index is very useful if you want to do a little bit of research into your courses, and you can sign up to the pay index and have a little explore of some of those facts and figures by yourself if you want. There's also some information on there for your parents and some links to other different websites and useful resources that you might want to look into. So if you want, you can sign up to the pay index, and we'll put a link to that in the Q&A box at the end as well. If you want to have a little look on there and play around with some of those facts and figures that we were discussing. We also have a section of our website called Ask Us. And the great thing about this is that you guys can just drop us a message on there whenever you want and ask us questions about your options. Okay, so in a minute we're going to do a Q&A and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. But if you don't get your question answered, or if you want to talk about something a bit more specific about you and what your options are, you can ask us a question on here. And myself and Lauren are both on there, as well as loads of different people in our team. And we can answer any questions that you guys have and have a bit of a one-to-one chat on there on our instant messaging site about what you kind of want to do in the future, what your options are, and we can answer questions on things like student finance, your college options, universities, courses, whatever it is you want to do. Okay, so yeah, we're going to put a link to that in the Q&A box. But yeah, please if you do have any questions, go on there and do ask away anything that you might want to know about your options. Like I said, we'll try and answer some now, but this will give you the chance to have that one-to-one chat about just you and what you want to know, what you want to do, and to get all the answers to those questions. Okay, so we'll put a link to that in the chat box as well for you. And then finally, hopefully you've enjoyed today. We are just going to put an evaluation up for you that you guys can access. There's a QR code there as well. And so if you can please let us know what you thought to this session, if you thought it was good, if there's anything you wish we would have spoken about but we didn't, please let us know on that evaluation form, because we want to make sure that when we do these sessions for you guys, it's got all the information in there that you might want to know. Okay, and those links are now in the box for you. So you can have a link there to our pay index, to our Ask Us platform, and also to our evaluations as well. But yeah, that is everything from us now, and I believe now we can go into our Q&A section and answer any questions that you guys have. So I will stop sharing my screen for you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chloe. Thanks, Lauren. If we can answer a couple of questions, we've still got a few minutes before we finish, that'd be great. There's a couple of questions with regards to student loans. Somebody's asked, do you get student loan for all the years on the course that you're on?
Yes, so yeah, you do get a student loan for each year that you're studying your course. So each year you do have to reapply for your student loans. And this is actually really good because it means that if your circumstances change, so for example, if both your parents are working and then one of them stops working, it means that your student loan will be reevaluated every single year. So it keeps up to date with what you're doing, you know, where you're living and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you are able to access it for every single year of your course.
And just following on from that question, somebody's asked, do you need to take out a student loan at all if you didn't want to?
No, you don't have to take out a student loan if you don't want to. Although I would say do look into the repayments because they are very small. And even if you maybe don't want to spend the loan on your university course, you could maybe spend it on something else. So your maintenance loan gets paid to you, so you can spend that on whatever you like. So I've known students before who've been able to live without their loan and have put it into a savings account because the repayments are really small. So you know, it's a quite a good loan to get, if that makes sense. So if you are, you know, concerned about the loan or want to know a bit more information, do have a look at the repayments and do your research on what the loan actually will entail.
Brilliant. I think we've got time for a couple more questions. Somebody's asked here, for a degree like law, is it best to move to places like London for more placement options or larger firms? And also, what kind of work experience should I be putting on my application for law?
Yeah, so I don't think in particular, so in terms of doing your degree, you can do that degree, you know, wherever. There are very good law schools in the north of England, as well as going to London. So I don't think it matters too much on where you study, and you can do your research into the law school itself, into what the law would be like at the university. In terms of placements, if you can do anything around working in law, then that's obviously very good. So if you know anybody who is a lawyer, that's very good, but also things that will build on your skills like communication skills, working with the public, all those kinds of things would be really useful. Lauren, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add to that.
Yeah, I've just put a link in the chat box actually for a website called Discover Uni, and that's a really useful tool to compare different courses at different universities. So I wouldn't say, you know, there's a certain area where it's best to go to university. There's a lot of different things to consider about what might be most suitable to you in terms of what you want from that university and like the social life and things as well. But in terms of comparing the courses, if you do want to go on that Discover Uni website, you can find out things like what the students thought of the teaching, how many of them have gone on to get jobs afterwards. So that can be really useful in helping you to explore those like different universities in different areas as well.
That's great, thank you. One last question. Are there any universities that have low entry requirements that you know of?
Yeah, so I think that's really worth, again, maybe going on the UCAS website and having a look, because universities' entry requirements change depending on the course. So it might be that a certain course is more competitive at one university and therefore they've got higher entry requirements, whereas another course is a lot smaller and they're lower. So I think it would be a big generalisation to say, yes, this university has lower entry requirements, but it's certainly worth having a look look on the UCAS website, and if maybe you think that you might need a university with those like lower entry requirements or with slightly lower grades, just have a look at which ones might be realistic for you to apply to as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And like Chloe said, please do access the Ask Us platform on the GM Hire's website if you've got any specific questions. That brings us to a close for today. Thank you so much to Chloe and Lauren for such an insightful session. I mean, I certainly learned quite a lot. Thank you to the students, parents, carers and the teachers who have been on the broadcast with us today and asked some great questions. Details of this week's activities can be found on our GMAX website, so please do access it. Links from the presentation, as you can see. And that's it from us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.